The echo of footsteps mixed with the distant rumble of trains inside Grand Central Terminal. As morning sunlight filtered in through the tall arched windows, it painted golden stripes across the marble floors. Business people rushed past in tailored suits and polished shoes, earbuds in, coffee in hand, eyes on the clock. Few noticed the elderly woman standing quietly near the corner entrance, except for the soft, persistent call that rose above the din of the station. Fresh roses. Only $5. Fresh roses. Her voice was calm, but carried weight. Not desperate, not aggressive, just hopeful. Her name was Lucia Alvarez, 67 years old, with silver-streaked hair tucked into a faded knitted hat. Every day, rain or shine, she came from her modest apartment in Mott Haven, the Bronx, traveling over an hour by subway just to sell her hand-tied bouquets. She carried them wrapped in yesterday's newspapers, bundled with care, their scent rising gently through the crowded air. She didn't shout. She didn't beg. She offered, and most days she was ignored. She had been coming here for nearly 5 years. Ever since her daughter passed away, and she became the sole guardian of her grandson, Mateo. Now 13, the boy dreamed of being a biologist. He loved plants and science, and would spend hours at the public library learning about ecosystems, photosynthesis, endangered species. Lucia worked not only to feed him, but to feed his future. One rose at a time, she often whispered to herself. That morning, the crowd was thicker than usual. Business commuters buzzed through the terminal with a quiet urgency. Among them was Ethan Parker, 31, dressed in a dark navy suit, fresh from the 28th floor of a tech firm in Midtown. His jaw was tense, eyes locked on his phone. He had just lost the firm's biggest client in a botched pitch meeting. His boss had given him a warning. He was furious, mostly at himself, but the anger needed somewhere to land. As he waited by the Starbucks line, Lucia's voice floated across the space again. "Fresh roses! Bring one home today. Only $5. Ethan's eye twitched. He glanced up and spotted her, standing near the marble column with her flowers and worn shoes. Something about her quiet persistence irritated him. He walked over, a bitter smile on his face. "Mom," he said loudly, holding his phone like a shield, "do you honestly think people want to buy flowers here? In the middle of rush hour? Maybe if you were selling phone chargers or crypto advice, you'd have better luck." A few passers-by glanced over. A couple smirked. Others kept walking. Lucia looked up at him slowly. Her face was lined with years, her back slightly hunched, but her gaze was clear, kind, but steady. "I offer what I grow," she said simply, handing a rose to a woman pushing a stroller nearby. The young mother smiled, surprised, and tucked it behind her ear. Ethan scoffed. "You should be charging for that kind of inspiration," he muttered sarcastically. But Lucia wasn't interested in trading insults. She turned back to her flowers, gently adjusting the stems. Then something unexpected happened. An older woman in a red coat approached. "Do you do this every day?" she asked. Lucia nodded. "Yes, ma'am. These roses come from a small community garden. I've been tending them since my husband passed. They help me take care of my grandson. He's going to be the first in our family to go to college." Her words were quiet but proud. The woman bought 2 bouquets and walked away, smiling. Soon others approached, some curious, some touched. Within minutes, a small group had gathered. Ethan, standing off to the side, felt something shift inside him. He hadn't meant to start anything, and he certainly hadn't expected the crowd to side with her. But more than that, he felt something else, something he didn't like admitting, shame. He stayed a moment longer, watching as Lucia gave a rose to a teenage boy in a delivery uniform, and as people dropped bills into her small tin box. She wasn't just selling flowers. She was offering moments. Small, beautiful ones, things he hadn't stopped to feel in a long time. That afternoon, back in his office, Ethan couldn't focus. The face of the flower seller kept appearing in his mind. The way she stood her ground without ever raising her voice. The softness in her eyes. The rose tucked behind the woman's ear. He left work early. bought a card, filled out a check, and the next morning he returned. Lucia was there in the same spot, with a new bundle of fresh roses, some red, some white, a few soft yellow. Her hands moved carefully as she arranged them, humming a song only she knew. Ethan approached her slowly. "Mrs. Alvarez?" She looked up, surprised. He held out an envelope. "I owe you an apology. Yesterday I spoke from a place of stress and ignorance, but I went home thinking about your words, about your flowers, about your grandson." Lucia looked at him silently. "Inside," he said, "is a check for $3,000. I don't know if it's much, but maybe it helps with school. Or anything you need." She opened the envelope slowly. Inside was the check and a handwritten note. "For your grandson's future and for reminding me that even in a place as loud as this, quiet dignity still speaks the loudest. Thank you for planting something real in a world full of noise." "Ethan," Lucia's eyes filled with tears. She pressed the envelope to her chest. "Thank you," she whispered. "I always say, kindness is like a seed. Sometimes it blooms when you least expect it." The ripple a week later, the story went viral. A university student had recorded the interaction with her phone and posted it on social media. The clip showed Lucia standing with her roses and Ethan handing her the envelope. The caption read, "He mocked her, then he came back." A lesson in humility at Grand Central. Within 48 hours, it had over 4 million views. People from all over the country messaged Lucia through the community garden's small website. Some donated. Others wrote letters. Local news stations showed up. A morning show invited her and Matteo for an interview, but Lucia didn't seek the spotlight. She kept selling her roses at the same corner, same time, same smile. She now earned more than ever, not because of the attention, but because people were hungry for what she offered. Human connection. Epilogue months later, Ethan met Matteo. The boy, shy but bright-eyed, thanked him for the donation. "I want to study plants that help clean the air," Matteo said. "Maybe even create new medicines from flowers." Ethan shook his hand, unhumbled. "I think you'll change the world," he said. And as he walked away, Ethan thought about how strange life was, how a stranger with a bundle of roses could teach him more about leadership, respect and success than any business seminar he'd ever attended. In the middle of the world's busiest terminal, surrounded by stress, time and ambition, he'd found grace, wrapped in newspaper, held by a woman who still believed that something beautiful can grow anywhere, even here, even now, even in him. If this story touched you, share it with someone who needs to remember that kindness costs nothing, and sometimes it changes everything. And you, would you have walked past Mrs. Lucia, or stopped for a flower and a moment of truth?